Hello, and welcome to today's Earth Day Live, how we can solve the plastic crisis through cleanups. I'm your host, Michael Carpedian. I'm also the Great Global Cleanup Coordinator with earthday.org. And today we have three amazing panelists with us today to discuss plastic. Yes, we're talking about plastic and how you can get involved to stop plastic pollution. We are also exactly 1 month out from World Cleanup Day, and we have some amazing panelists to talk about how you can get involved with that and how you can get involved in any plastic pollution. First, we're going to start off by introducing our amazing panelists. Aiden, the king of plastic. He is our plastics coordinator at earthday.org. Aiden, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Michael. I'd rather not be known as the king of plastic. That'd be really great to not have that title. But yeah, I work on the policy side of things at earthday.org with all things related to plastic, whether it's treaties and negotiations internationally or local legislation down to the state and regional level.
Awesome. You're right about the king of plastics. We're going to jump over to Heidi, who's based in Estonia and the president of Let's Do It World. She's passionate about ending plastic pollution, and she is known in our field as being utterly relentless in her efforts. Heidi, how are you doing today?
Hello, Michael. Hello, all. I'm really excited. I'm doing really well. Thank you so much.
Awesome, and welcome. And last but not least, we have Anna Hosha. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. She is a visionary environmentalist. She's based out of Tanzania. She does a lot and runs many organizations. Anna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here. Thank you, Michael.
Awesome. And before we jump in, anyone who's joining us live, let us know in the comments what part of the world you are from. Obviously, we have a lot of people here. Aiden's based in DC. We have Estonia, Tanzania. Let us know where you are. We'd love to hear. Anna, Aiden, to start the panelists off, I'm going to jump to you. Why is right now such an important time to get involved in ending plastic pollution?
So for me, I think it comes down to we're starting to see the health impacts imposed by plastic production and consumption. More and more studies are coming out related to how it affects development in children and also leads to increased cancer risk, especially in marginalized and lower income communities. Here in the U.S., down in Cancer Alley in Louisiana, they're seeing huge spikes in cancer directly related to petrochemical and plastic production. So it's best to start curbing production now and then work towards a plastic-free future moving forward.
Awesome. And Aiden, I know, obviously, since we work at the same organization, I know you were just in Paris for INC2. Can you talk a little bit about what is going on at INC? What is INC? And talk a little bit about the plastic treaty that's being written right now.
Sure. So they're trying to develop a global plastics treaty to kind of curb the production of plastic. Ultimately, that's our goal, at least. So it's United Nations are meeting together to figure out the path forward for plastic, and hopefully that will lead to legally binding treaties and kind of making sure that plastic reduction is curbed at every level, especially internationally. It includes full life cycle of plastic, so from pulling it out of the ground to its disposal, and the issues around some disposable methods.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And Heidi, you run an international organization based on this. Can you tell us a little bit about Let's Do It World and World Cleanup Day?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, Let's Do It World started way back in 2008 already from Estonia when we had our first national-wide cleanup. It's turned out really successful, and we had quite a many followers who had also the same model, cleaning up the country in just one single day. But we figured out also if you have a magical engagement, like a 5% of the population, then you have really strong societal shift. So we also did saw that there is no enough impact in this world regarding of the cleanups or any kind of environmental actions. So we basically came out with really strong and really bold idea to have the World Cleanup Day, which is here, which is cleaning up the whole world in just one single day by engaging 5% of the population, which is, you know, bold thing to think and bold thing to do as well. But we have been managed like conduct 5 World Cleanup Days. 6th one is coming on this September, 16th of September. We have basically participation from each country in this world. Some are big, some are small, but still it is a participation. We have been engaged more than 71 million people. And also, I think the World Cleanup Day is serving two things. Firstly, we have to raise, and we are raising the awareness about the plastic pollution, but any kind of pollution, by engaging people into the action. When we have this magical 5%, we are talking about societal shift, what we need in our world. And furthermore, it's also catalyzing the cooperation, cross-sectoral cooperation, because cleaning up is not the solution, and we all know that. But it is, the waste is a symptom, but we need raise awareness, change behavior. So we need this lot of people. And also we have to work further how to keep it also without any waste. And for that, we have to engage also the corporates who do produce, and also think what is the innovative solutions in their economical models. And also we have to engage, and we are engaging also government and media to talk about the pollution, and also how to change society, and what could be the different kind of legislation which is helping or nudging their private sector to make the change, but also which is enabling the people to collect the waste in appropriate way as well.
Awesome. And 71 million people is a lot of people. And it's like you said, cleanups are part of the solution, but they are not the solution. We need to do a lot more past cleanups to really get the change going. So I'm curious, I believe you said 2008 is when Let's Do It World was first started. That was the first World Cleanup Day. What are some of the tangible impacts that you've seen from this organization?
Yes, thank you for a really great question. So first, national wide cleanup, and all this started was 2008, but with the World Cleanup Day, we started in 2018. But we can see how it's changing the society when you have this magical 5%, and it's really, really important. I talked and explained it before as well, but Estonia, of course, have been changed since then. Also, Latvia have been changed since then. By the way, we have 18 countries in our network. Among 164, where we have leaders and teams who are working for the World Cleanup Day, but 18 out of them have been engaged during the World Cleanup Days, and also before on the cleanups, 3 up to 14% of their population. And there is one country, Slovenia, who have engaged twice, nearly 14% of their population. And when they did it like 2 times, this kind of huge engagement, they said that actually we don't need the World Cleanup Day anymore. And this is exactly what we want to have in the end of the day, that we don't need this kind of organizations for working on any kind of cleanup, because we have been changing society. So Slovenia, who brought together twice, basically 13-14% of the population, is today a country in the European Union who is sorting, segregating, and working in 70% from all the waste what they do have, recycling, though it's really great results. And also Ljubljana have been working to become the zero waste capital of Europe. And basically, if you go to Slovenia, I guess it is really clean. So I think this is most important results. Of course, I think as we are engaging also the corporates and business sector organization for the cleanup, so the change will start in human level inside the organization is also really important. Schools and kindergartens, of course, and especially media and the government, because we have been witness that in the moment when we are engaging different kind of organizations into so huge action, then they started to think what is a corporation, what they can do for the country, what could be the green initiatives and programs to sustain all this change as well. And I guess this is also really great impact what we can witness already inside the Let's Do It World of World Cleanup Day too.
Wow, that's amazing. And I guess it really goes to show that 5%, once you get past that, a lot of change will come after that. And I have a question for you. I know you do a lot around plastics, especially in Africa. Something I'm curious about, and what we really want to get out of this webinar here is how can people get involved? Do you think you can tell us a little bit about your roadmap to become the environmentalist that you are today?
Yes, I can. I have been an environmentalist since I know of myself. So I started actually when I was a child in Brazil, and there was Rio 1992, one of the first conference about the environment, the Earth Conference. And I couldn't stop doing this since. So about people getting involved, the plastic crisis basically touches everybody. I don't think there is anybody here that is watching this live that doesn't have plastic inside their body. We all do. Our kids do. There is plastic everywhere. And so it's extremely important for people to understand the size of the problem and also understand what is required for us to be able to solve this problem. And to solve this problem, we need several things. We definitely need, for example, the global plastic treaty that is currently being discussed. And so we need policies that are going to help us, but we also need a lot of engagement from people. We need people to understand that this is a very big problem, but it's a problem that can be solved. That if everybody goes there and takes action in terms of educating other people, in terms of making different choices, in terms of advocating and rejecting products that are harmful to our health and to the environment, we can all make this change together. So the plastic crisis is huge, but it's not impossible to fight. And if we all fight together, we can actually solve this problem.
That is awesome, and that's awesome to hear. A question I have for you is that getting involved is interesting, and in different locations, they come with unique challenges. What are some of the challenges that Tanzania is facing uniquely, and how does that compare to some of the challenges faced elsewhere?
So I think when you think about waste, when you think about plastics, it's everywhere. The difference is the ability that people have to somehow deal with it, or to somehow at least pretend that they are dealing with this. And so in the case of Tanzania, less than 30% of the whole population in the country has any access to any kind of waste collection services. So most people need to figure out and handle their own waste in a local way. We also produce much less plastic waste than most of the big countries that produce way more. But the problem is that plastic waste basically navigates across the ocean. It's also exported, so we have a lot of waste trade. And so even if we are not producing the plastic, it's still reaching our countries. And it's an economic model that we didn't create, but we haven't yet found a way to change it, to do things in a different way. And so in the case of Tanzania, when you do, for example, marine litter surveys or you do cleanups, we are talking about very high volumes of waste. We collect a lot of waste. We audit that waste. We try to figure out, okay, what is in there? Where is it coming from? Who is producing this? Why is it there? What is the composition? So that we can basically have enough knowledge about what is going on. We can share that information with people, and then we can basically educate, advocate, ask for better policies, engage people more. So when you think about Tanzania, we have the unique challenge that is not that unique, actually. There are many countries in the world that face the same problem, which is we don't have, like, if we need to allocate budget to do something, we are not going to allocate budget to waste. We allocate budget to education. We allocate budget to health. And I don't think anyone can question that. So we don't have enough money to do waste management. Especially in the traditional models. So what we need to do is basically reinvent ourselves, remember how we used to do it actually before, because we have traditions. We have been doing things better for a long time. And so actually do things in a way that we can afford, that we can manage, and that can bring the systemic change that is needed for us to get rid of all this waste that we have everywhere.
Wow. And you brought up a really good point about, the exportation of waste to other countries. And Aiden, I know you're probably chomping at the bit to jump in here, but before that, I'm curious, where does a lot of that waste come from?
So if you think about, for example, plastic, again, talking about plastic, since we started producing plastic, we estimate that less than 80% of all the plastic that has been produced actually got recycled. So that means that 92% of that plastic is somewhere, And so countries that actually have nice waste collection services, nice waste management, mostly countries, European countries, the US, Canada, so countries in the global north, they are able to actually collect that waste and to a certain extent to sort that waste. But the truth is that a lot of the waste that is collected, you cannot manage. You cannot manage the volumes that we do. We cannot manage the different types of plastic waste that are out there. You cannot manage that. So they are able to remove it from the streets, but they are not actually able to manage. So what ends up happening is that this waste gets exported to developing countries, most of them in Asia and in Africa. And then every now and then you see a report coming out from some organization saying that African rivers and Asian rivers are the responsible for most of the waste that is entering the ocean. And that's a very unfair um, narrative, because the truth is that it may be going to the ocean through Asian and African rivers, but it's not plastic that was produced in Asia or in Africa, and mostly it wasn't also consumed in Asia and in Africa. It was consumed and produced somewhere else and ended up reaching Asia and Africa through waste trade, and then it enters the ocean. And so then we get the blame for something that we didn't produce, that we didn't want, and then the countries that are actually producing and consuming that have the image of being able to manage their waste.
Wow, thank you for shedding light to that, because that's not something I really put together. That's a really good point. Aiden, I want to throw this conversation over to you. I know Earth Day just announced a new campaign, but in light of what Anna is talking about, what are some of the points that Earth Day is standing on to fight this?
Sure. So one of our main points that we proposed to the INCs for the Global Plastics Treaty was banning the export of waste. Just like Anna was saying, most of it's coming from developed nations such as the US, and we're just throwing it away. But I think a lot of it comes down to misinformation that we have in the US. So a lot of us assume we've handled the plastic problem pretty well because we don't see it. But it's really just we're shipping it off so we don't have to see it. It's more of a, if I can't see it, it's not my problem kind of situation. So another thing we're pushing for is fully financed education and public awareness campaigns to let people know that, hey, this is an issue. In the US, we're consuming more plastic than most other nations. We're producing more plastic than most other nations, and we're causing a problem. We might not be able to see the impacts directly in some areas, but it's greatly disproportionately affecting developing nations across the world, such as those in Africa and Asia. Another point we want to do, that we're focused on, is banning all plastic-related tobacco products, including but not limited to tobacco filters and e-cigarettes. The tobacco industry has been the bad guy forever, and it turns out they've known about the issue of plastic since at least the 1970s. They've been looking for alternatives, but deemed it too expensive for them. They continue to profit off of the crap they're putting into our bodies and then the crap they're throwing into our environment. So those are just some of our key points we're focused on, but I agree with Anna that it isn't an issue created by developing nations. It's an issue created by developed nations that we're just kind of pushing off. We're more focused on how the industry is doing rather than how citizens across the world are doing.
Thank you for sharing that, Aiden. And Heidi, I want to also throw this over to you, because you run a network of countries all over in the global north, global south. How do you see the different countries you work with work on this situation?
Yes, I think it's really different country by country. We are living in really diverse world. I just see that it is very crucial to engage government, as I said, in the moment when the country leaders are establishing this kind of partnerships. It's easier to go to the process. It's easier to find the ways to see the impact. Otherwise, there is just cleanup after the cleanup, and this is not the solution. What I said, Some of our countries already do segregate their materials during their cleanups. Some of them are just collecting it to their big landfills. I have been part of some cleanups. I have been in some landfills as well, including Jakarta, including in Cameroon, in different parts of the world, of Brazil. And I can see what kind of obstacles or big problems we actually are facing. Definitely, we have to have in our minds understanding that some of their people are living in this kind of areas where it's really hard to establish any kind of waste management system. For example, really hilly mountains, for example, inside Rio de Janeiro, even in Sao Paulo, where you have huge this kind of slums areas, but they are in hilly landscapes, and it's really hard to have any kind of waste management there. Or we are facing also a situation, for example, in Indonesia. I can provide an understanding to the worldwide level that in Indonesia there are 17,000 islands, and of course, not all of them have some kind of waste management systems. So the people are doing open fires. They even might not be aware that it will be something which is bad for the lungs or all the health. So they try to get rid for this kind of waste and pollution in some areas. Yes, I have been also in Cameroon and already talked about the Africa situation and also polluted rivers. Just taking part of the cleanup in Yaoundé, in Cameroon capital, 2.6 million people, and the river was 400 kilometers long up to the ocean, covered with all the plastic. And in this moment, you realize that it's like it's a little bit. You can see like a hell of the human impact, what it has been created. Or also, if I talk about the Africa, then the situation is not about just the plastic, but also with sort of like a leftovers, sent like a humanitarian aid to different kind of regions. And sometimes people don't need this kind of huge amount of clothes, huge amount of tires, huge amount of used laptops and so on. And it will be open burn in the streets. So you cannot see the sun sometimes. It was actually the reality in Yaoundé. And then you start to think, okay, what kind of world we are living? And we have to know in worldwide level also what happens, because in other parts of the world, because we are consuming here and we cannot see that we are producing the waste, because this is sort of like our life norm. We cannot see even the waste in the street in some societies. Why? Because it will be cleaned up by the local municipality. But in reality, we are consuming a lot and we are producing a lot, and somewhere it will be ending in the end of the day, and somebody have to pay for that. So in sort of, we can say what is a solution in different kind of countries, but in another way we have to say that actually this is one world, and we have to take care, and we have to be aware that we are living in the one world which is not so small, not so big, and it does have effect absolutely everywhere, every day, by every single person.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Aiden, in light of what Heidi just said, one of the positions Earth Day is taking is the 60% reduction of plastic production by 2040. With the nuances between different countries, where does that fit?
So we kind of selected that model because we saw such an uptick of plastic production between the 1990s and today. And if we reduce 60% by 2040 of today's levels, we'll be that down to 1990 levels, which isn't perfect. That's still a lot of plastic waste going into the world, but we thought that that'd be a good starting point, and then continue working from there. And in the meantime, also developing sustainable alternatives to plastic that don't have the same health effects, that are well studied, well regulated, and also coming up with solutions that promote more reusability, more recyclability that actually works, not just the 5% we actually recycle among the other issues. But the 60% reduction takes us back to more sustainable levels, not completely sustainable levels, but more sustainable levels. And it's more of a starting off point, not an end all point.
Awesome. And it seems like the solution really is the reduction, like you were saying, Haiti. It's the overconsumption of, you know, these plastics that is really creating, you know, these challenges that we're facing. And I'm curious, when we talk about that, we need to find new initiatives to, you know, stop the overconsumption and focus more on a circular economy or whatever it is. What are some of the initiatives you're seeing in Tanzania, if there are any, or in all of Africa as well?
I think sometimes we actually needed to go back to old solutions and not new ones, because we knew how to do this, and it wasn't that long ago. So when it comes to Tanzania, for example, we have a zero waste system that is being implemented in Tanzania for 4 years now. That basically includes segregation of waste at source, education for people, organics management in a decentralized way, so at the neighborhood level. We are able to reduce the amount of waste that we need to transport to the landfill or to the dump site, depending on the city, by 75 to 85%. So between 75 and 85% is manageable at the local level in Tanzania, and that's a lot of organic waste, which also means that we are reducing by a lot methane gas emissions. And you know that methane gas is extremely harmful when you think about the climate crisis. So that's basically us going back to the way that we used to do things and doing it well, doing it properly, doing it better. I think one of the issues with that, and I think one of the things that we learned from that, is that there is that 15 to 25% of the waste that we cannot manage at the local level, and that's because that's waste that cannot be managed. It's not manageable. So it goes back to the point that we need to make sure that we address production. Especially when you think about the plastic crisis, I don't think anybody one day woke up and said, oh, I really need an umbrella to put on my cocktail. You know, like the umbrella was produced and then people started using the umbrella on the cocktail. But it wasn't pushed by consumers. It wasn't about us saying, oh, I really need this plastic product. It's more about plastic industry thinking, okay, how can I produce more things using plastic? And so that 15 to 25% is something that we just need to advocate to not exist anymore. It can't be in the road anymore. And that is 15 to 25% in a country like Tanzania, and in many African countries, many sub-Saharan countries. But then if you think about countries in the global north, then the organic waste is less significant, and then you have more plastic products, plastic waste, and all of that. So the realities are different, but at the end of the day, what we need to make sure is that we actually understand the waste that we are consuming. I even say consuming because for me, waste doesn't actually become waste after we use the product. When a product is created, is put on a shelf somewhere, we already know that that's going to be waste. So it's already waste. You know, we are just taking it from there and continuing with that. And so what we need to make sure is that we understand the different kinds of waste. We stop using the things that we don't need to use, that we shouldn't be using, that are harmful for our health and for the environment, and then we actually go back and look back a little bit and look at how our grandparents used to do things, and go there and try to do the same. You know, it worked and it will work again.
Yes, I love that. In a lot of the people's lives nowadays, we don't remember that time before plastic. And Aiden, you mentioned it really wasn't until much recently that huge intake of a huge production of plastic, you know, started to exist. So I really love that sentiment. I've never thought of it that way personally. I'm always thinking of what new initiative can we do to create the change, but maybe there's a lot of wisdom looking back. So we're coming down to our last final minutes here. And anyone who's watching, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. We're gonna have a quick Q&A session in a little bit. But before we do that, I want to talk about specifically how the people watching right now can get involved. Haiti, World Cleanup Day is coming up literally in a month. It's August 16th. World Cleanup Day is September 16th. Haiti, how can people get involved?
Yes, really easily. You can create your own event. You will come with your friends, with your families, or the organizations we're working with the community, with the friends. And you can go to worldcleanupday.org website and register your event. We have all of materials, how to take a part, what to do, post the photos, videos, and most important, have a fun. Or if there is already a cleanup and you can also register to join this cleanup, you can also do that. So it's all the materials for that as well. So I think it's really nice thing to do. Usually people who have been part already any kind of cleanup and have done it have been changed humans later on in my understanding. At least it happened to me in 2008 when I was a part of the first cleanup in Estonia where everything started. And I truly recommend you to go and connect with yourself, with other people, with the earth, and with a purpose. Let's do it.
Awesome. And yeah, cleanups, if you're watching, you haven't done a cleanup before, it is easy and it's a ton of fun, especially when you bring your friends and family along. Anna, you touched on it earlier. On the political side, how can we start to make this change from an individual standpoint from the top down?
So basically, we need to remember that governments will always react to what their populations want. So right now we have the Global Plastic Treaty being negotiated. It's actually a short process. Goes until 2025 if everything goes according to plan. But we need the population, the civil society, to go there and say, "I care about this. The plastic crisis is affecting my life. I want to make sure that I don't leave this world the way that it is to my kids. I want to make sure that we can solve this in our generation. We can make the difference." And so we can go there, we can advocate, we can push our governments to actually take ambitious positions, to advocate for ambitious policies, to make sure that they actually reflect the needs and the demands from the civil society of their countries. And I think as civil society, as people, we are able to see the plastic crisis on a daily basis. And so if we actually translate that into willingness to engage, into power when we are speaking, if we get more people to know about this, both about the crisis and about the possible solution to that crisis that comes with the treaty and everything, we can actually get an ambitious treaty that is going to help us having better systems also at the national level. So that's what I would say. Try to learn about it, get a lot of people to hear about it, push our governments. We need a lot of push. We need a lot of people involved.
Definitely. We do need a lot of push, especially up there. Now, and thank you for sharing that, Anna. I can't end an Earth Day Live without, shouting out my own organization. Aiden, how can individuals get involved with what earthday.org is doing?
So I just want to reiterate what Anna just said. And the government's meant to work for the citizens, not for industry. So it's kind of our job to push our governments in the right direction. One of the things you can do is go to earthday.org and sign on to our petition, specifically pushing the U.S. government to have a stronger stance on the Global Plastics Treaty, as well as a separate petition to push governments in general across the world to have a stronger stance with the Global Plastics Treaty. It's an issue that's affecting all of us directly, and it's time that we got to take some action.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I believe we have some questions ready to go. If we could put some of those on screen, we'll jump to the Q&A. Does plastic pollution affect climate change too somehow? Does it harm or help? I think, Aiden, do you want to take this question?
Sure. Yeah. So plastic pollution does affect climate change in the production side of things and the breakdown. Plastic is made up of petrochemicals and fossil fuels. Currently, it doesn't seem like it's a huge part of the global emissions, but as production increases, so do the emissions from production. So it's directly affecting climate change in that sense. And in terms of affecting our health, it affects our endocrine system, it affects our lymphatic system, it affects our digestive system, neurological system. It's hurting us everywhere. And it's in our water, it's in our air, it's in our food, and we can't get away from it unless we start curbing production and consumption.
Awesome. Thank you. Is the next Global Cleanup Day near April 22nd each year? Yes, I guess I'll take this one since I run the Great Global Cleanup. Yes, so we focus on cleanups all April, but what we're really focusing on is having cleanups go on year round. Next April and March and April, May, it's going to be a huge push to do cleanups. But of course, upcoming now is World Cleanup Day, and that's going to be an amazing time if you can go to get involved in World Cleanup Day. Find a cleanup near you. September 16th is when the world's going to go clean up. When we're going to go clean up the world. What are tactics to encourage cleanup volunteers to engage in additional action? Heidi, would you like to take this one?
Yes, I think one thing is just simply don't give up, because usually people are thinking, what is a methodology? What is so special? What I can do? No, there is no miracle. Only miracle thing is don't give up, just be really persistent, go and try to talk and try to understand also the government as much as possible, and to find a strategy which is aligning with your agenda. So I think this is a most this kind of best way to go. What's in it for me is also the governmental question. If you can find the ways how to, in clever way, to support the government, but also to have the action and also have some kind of results after that, then you have done really magical work. If I think about the Let's Do It World leaders, they are simply persons who are not giving up, right, Anna? Anna is leading World Cleanup Day in Tanzania. She knows the best. Don't give up. Be really present. Do everything what you can. And this is how it goes. The next thing is inspiration. I think you are motivated to be part when you are inspired about what the persons are doing. We have fantastic leaders in Let's Do It World. They are really inspiring people. You can see Anna. She is inspiration. So I think the teams are there. They want to follow, and to find the ways how to sustain the change is also then possible to do. I think this is a key word: collaboration and not giving up. Finding what's in it for me, coming up with clever strategies, and also inspiration.
Awesome, thank you. And we're going to take this last question right here from Jen. How do we stop grocery stores from using plastic packaging? Yes, in grocery stores, there's a ton of plastic packaging. Anna, do you want to take this one?
Yes, I can. I think what this question actually shows is how things are connected. So the reason why grocery stores are using this much plastic packaging is because they're bringing products from very far away for you to consume where you are. And we shouldn't be doing that. We need to consume locally. We need to go there and we need to respect seasons. We can't have every product all the time along the entire year, So we need to actually think about what we are demanding. We also need to remember that the plastic crisis is actually connected to the food crisis. And so we need to be able to advocate for that to stop. We need to stop buying products that are done that way, that are packaged in plastic that way. We need to actually be looking for the farmers markets. Change the way that we are interacting with these products. And so there is a lot to be done.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And that concludes our webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, being here. Anna, Heidi, Aiden, thank you so much for your time. Before we jump off, what is one thing you would like the audience to take away from this? Anna, would you like to go first?
Don't close your eyes to the crisis that we are in, because we need to solve it. So as I said in the beginning, the crisis is very big. We are in the middle of a mess, but we can solve it. So if we all take action together in whatever way we want, we will make things better. So go for it.
Thank you. Heidi?
I believe into collaboration, and the Let's Do It World is really great. Showcasing it. It's possible in global level in 164 countries. So I believe that collaboration in each person to talk about, to become an ambassador for the green world, waste-free world is absolutely possible. Just talk, share, be aware, do the cleanup when you can, and be the inspiration to the other people. I think this is important, to involve us also other people into these actions, and not just be with yourself, but share these words. This is important. Be an ambassador.
Awesome. Aiden?
I think the key takeaway is just you need to educate yourself on these issues and share that education with those in your community. It's as easy as sending a text to your family like, "Hey, have you guys heard about this treaty? Have you heard about all the issues we're seeing with plastic?" And just work from there. If you get one person to reach out and they'll reach out to another person, you keep building the momentum that way.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for your time, and thank you so much to everyone who joined and listened to this webinar. I think key messages is don't give up. We can solve this issue. So thank you so much. Once again, I'm Michael Carpedian. This was Earth Day Live, and yeah, thank you so much.